Hey guys, it's Tiff and welcome back to my channel. You already know what today's video is, so I do not need to tell you twice. What is up? How are you? I love you. Let's get right on into it, shall we? So, again, you already know, we're gonna be talking about my top 10 favorite romances I have read so far in 2023, and these are some books that reading them have made me feel so many different emotions and have really just little by little changed my perspective on reading, helped change the way I rate books, and just so much more, and I cannot wait to share every single one of them with you. And I really hope that if you've read any of these, you also loved them, and if you haven't, I hope you do read them and love them just as much as me. So with that being said, let's get right on into it. We're gonna do the Kindle books last because they're some of my favorite of the year. So starting out with Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. This is one of the first books I read this year. I read this back in January, I believe. I really loved this book. Reading this book genuinely made me feel like I was being transported back into time when I was in high school and kind of just started dating my husband, and just made me feel things and remember things that I kind of forgot about, and even made me feel like I was smelling certain smells. As weird as that sounds, that literally is what this book did for me. I absolutely love Macy and Elliot. I feel like their story and their love for each other is so pure and lighthearted and just so wholesome, and I genuinely loved it. If you don't know what this book is about, it's second chance childhood friends to lovers. They basically used to kind of live next to each other, they became friends, and then they fell in love, and then something happens and they don't talk for 11 years, and now here we are 11 years later, they've run into each other, they're kind of being in each other's lives again, but we still don't understand what happened 11 years ago to get them to stop talking, and they both are also in relationships at the point of them running into each other. So it is quite a wild ride. This book literally made me feel so many different emotions. I was laughing, I was crying, I was blushing, literally all the things while reading this book, and I genuinely, wholeheartedly feel like this would be a comfort read. Like, this would be something that if I just wanted to read something that would make me feel good and would just feel like home while reading it, I would definitely go to this book. It's just so good. Genuinely, if you've read this, then you probably know. I know this book is not going to be for everyone, just like literally every book ever, but I really did love this, and I would literally recommend this for the rest of my life just because of the literal emotional roller coaster I went on while reading this book. And I feel like that's something so special. If a book can make you feel all the emotions and not just one, there's something special about it, and this genuinely is so special. I loved it so much. I don't know how many times I said I loved this book, but just know I really loved it, and I would highly recommend. It's so good. Oh my god, how many times am I gonna say that? Bear with me as I say it's so good about all of these books 17 million times. Okay, moving on to the next book, we have The Love Wager by Lynn Painter. This is technically the second to Mr. Wrong Number, but they are technically standalone, so you don't have to read Mr. Wrong Number if you don't want to. Personally, I'm glad I read Mr. Wrong Number, and I did enjoy that book, though I did enjoy this one 10 million times more. This is a 5-star read for me. I loved this book. If you know me, you know I am a fake dating girl, okay? And there's some fake dating in this book, and I love the way Lynn Painter did the fake dating in this book. I think it was done in such a spectacular way. It's not fake dating just from the start of it, okay? If you don't know what this book is about, we basically follow Jack and Hallie. They meet, have a one-night stand, and then they end up both deciding, I want to actually find the one, and they signed up for a dating app and come across each other and end up basically having a conversation saying, we're not interested in each other. But then they kind of end up making a wager to see who will meet the one first, and kind of start going on these little post-date hangout sessions to get tacos. You know, when a date goes bad and both of their dates go bad, that's what they do, okay? And along the way, they start to actually become like really close friends, and then at some point, they have to fake date, and they kind of start to realize, I don't know, maybe I do like this person. And I literally loved this. I loved Jack, I loved Hallie, I loved them together. I feel like the way they came together in this story and just their relationship was so beautiful. I feel like they brought out the best in each other, and they just felt like they clicked so perfectly. This book was so fun. Literally, this book was so fun. I flew through this. I genuinely, if I'm remembering correctly, think I read this in like 2 days. Like, I read this so fast. I really really enjoyed it. And again, it was just such a fun story. If you're wanting a fun like rom-com that's maybe not gonna make you super emotional, but it's just gonna be fun, okay? It's gonna be a fun ride. You're gonna have a good time. You're gonna love the characters. You're gonna love the story. This is the one for you, okay? It's so fun. Low-key kind of matches my outfit, okay? Kind of not, but you know what I'm saying. Genuinely would highly recommend. It was so good. And yeah, I just loved it. I just loved it. Moving on, the next book we have is The Deal by Elle Kennedy. This is actually a book that I read fairly recently, and let me tell you, I was so scared going into reading this book. I had read Bad Girl Reputation by her without knowing that that was technically the second in a series, and that book was fun, but it didn't really make me feel anything, and I genuinely forget that I read it unless I'm thinking about the fact that I read this book, and then I remember that I also read that by her. So I was really like nervous going into this, thinking that I wasn't really gonna like it because I didn't really love her other book, but wow, this was just on a completely different level. It was so good. It's the first hockey romance I have ever read, and wow. I know you guys are always saying that hockey romances are so good. I think you guys failed to mention that there is literal crack in these, okay? Because I am so excited for like the winter season because I'm gonna be reading so many hockey romances. Icebreaker is one that I have not read yet, and I'm literally saving it for the winter, okay? I'm saving it for the winter, and I'm so excited to read it. Anyways, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about this. And this was so good. I loved Garrett and Hannah, okay? The way that their relationship grew and blossomed, and also Garrett was so selfless with her. If you've read this book, then you know what I'm saying. I don't want to say too much because I don't want it to spoil it, but there is just things that kind of happen in this book that he does for her that is so unbelievably selfless, and it's completely just to help her and to help her get past something in her life. I was reading that and I was just like, wow, like genuinely just wow. Like that is the only word coming to mind. Like just wow. Like, oh my God, I'm literally speechless about this book right now. Moral of the story, I really liked this. This book was definitely a little emotional. There is definitely some heavy topics in this. I would honestly suggest for some people to look up the trigger warnings in this book because there is some very heavy topics discussed, but it was so good, and I really do want to continue the series because I really liked it, and I would really like to continue reading about the little friend group of hockey players we got going on in this series. Yeah, that's this one. Again, so good. Highly recommend. And moving on, we have Twisted Games by Anna Hong. This is the second in the Twisted series. Now, in general, I love the entire Twisted series. I have read it in its entirety, and that actually is a reading vlog. So if you are wanting a reading vlog specifically of someone reading this entire series in one go, I have one. You're welcome. Yeah, I love the whole series, but this one in particular is my favorite book of the series. I just loved the tropes in this book, and just the characters and the way the story went was so good. This one is basically a bodyguard romance. She's a princess and he is her bodyguard, and this was the first ever bodyguard romance I had read, and wow, I need to read more because I really liked it. It was so good. These characters, okay? Bridget, the main girl, the princess in question, her personality is so good. She's not a princess that's prim and proper and all that kind of stuff. Like, no, she's gonna tell you what she thinks. She's still gonna curse. She is still gonna eat some pizza and pig out. Like, she has such a good personality, and I loved her spunk and just the vibes she gave me, if you know what I mean. Like, I just loved the vibe she gave me. And Reese, don't even get me started on Mr. Reese. Wow, man, I genuinely can't even describe to you how much I loved Reese in this book. He is so protective of her, and there is things he does for her in this book that she doesn't even realize at the time that he's doing for her that are literally so cute, so wholesome, genuinely so good. I genuinely annotated it so heavily. There are so many things in this book that were so beautifully written to me, and just the conversations they would have and the banter they had, and just literally everything about this book. This is genuinely in my top 5 favorite books I have read this year. I loved this so much. The plot, the story, the characters, every single thing that went into this book was done perfectly for me. This is a 5-star read, wholeheartedly, 100%. I loved it so much. And if you haven't read the series, genuinely, I wholeheartedly recommend reading it. I know a lot of people end up not liking Twisted Love, and that kind of throws them off from wanting to read the rest of the series, but they just get better. It's such a good series, and I would genuinely just recommend to read the entire series because it's that good. Moving on, we have The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. This is genuinely so good. I often still think about this book and these characters. Their love was literally the most special thing ever. I think that their love story and their connection is one of my favorites that I've read of in a romance book. It was so good. And oh my god. Oh my god. I'm getting all gushy just thinking about this book right now. If you don't know what this book is about, this book is definitely a fake dating book. You know, I love fake dating. And that's kind of what initially drew me to this, and that's why I purchased it. But I actually ended up reading this for a booktubers choose my reads for a week video, and Alexa Wright ended up choosing for me to read this, and I am so glad I read it because this quickly became one of my favorite books, one of my favorite couples, and they're still one of my favorite couples. I love them. Olive, I love her personality. I love her drive. She has this attitude and this like just vibe about her that is just so good. And then Adam is quite literally a simp. If you're looking for a book where the guy falls first and he falls harder, read this. Read this right now. Okay? Wow, he is literally such a simp for her. He falls so hard for her, and it's not even evident how hard he falls for her until the end. And I just loved watching them. I say watching as if it was a movie, but it felt like I was watching a movie when I was reading this book. The writing, the story, the characters, again, like I was saying about Twisted Games, everything about this book was so perfect to me. I felt so unbelievably attached to these characters and to the story. Again, the fake dating. It's literally my favorite trope. I don't know if that's weird. I feel like I never hear anyone say that fake dating is their favorite trope, but it is mine, okay? It is mine. If you are the same way, comment down below, let me know, because I need to find my other fake dating lovers, okay? I need to find you. Also, I am so sorry because the fact that I am talking all over the place about this book right now, genuinely, this book makes my brain feel so scrambled because that's just how much I love it. Do you understand the feeling? Do you understand the vibe? Do you know what I'm saying? Do you know what I'm saying? I don't know if you know what I'm saying. Like, if somebody asked me for a romance book recommendation and you haven't read this, you're reading it. Well, I can't force you, but I'm gonna tell you to read it. And I hope you love it as much as I did because it was so good. It was so good. Moving on, we have By a Thread by Lucy Score. For the longest time, this was my favorite book that I have read this year. I also read this in that booktubers choose my reads for a week video. Sarah picked for me to read this, and ever since reading it for literally months, this was my favorite book. And it is still in my like top 3. I loved this book so much. Just the banter and the tension between the two of them, and also just the plot and the story and the character development and just the story building in this book was so good. And this epilogue is probably one of the best epilogues I have ever read in a romance book. I was literally sitting there for probably 20 to 30 minutes straight reading the last chapter and then the epilogue, just sobbing. Actually sobbing. Complete tears falling from my face nonstop for 20 minutes. Like, I am not exaggerating. You can literally see it in that reading book. I was bawling my eyes out, but for such good reasons. It wasn't out of sadness. It was out of, oh my god, this is the cutest thing I've ever read. This is the sweetest thing in the whole world. And I was so giddy and emotional about it. It's not even funny. If you don't know what this book is about, we have Dominic and Allie. This is like a workplace romance, okay? So we have Grumpy Sunshine. Basically what happens is Allie's working at a pizza shop, okay? She's working at a pizza shop. Dominic comes in with his mother. They're eating. You know, they're eating their food. Actually, they weren't even eating their food. They weren't eating their food. They go to this pizza shop and he ends up getting her fired. But he's with his mother, who is the CEO of a magazine, okay? The CEO. And he just worked for his mommy. He just works for his mother. So what does she do? She gives Allie a job. And now they have to work together. So they start working together and he hates her. But does he hate her? Anyways, I'm talking so funny about this book right now and I don't even know why, but I genuinely just loved it. This is the book that made me love a slow burn. I hated a slow burn before reading this book. If you're not someone who likes a slow burn, this might do it for you. This might make you love a slow burn because wow, the burn was slow. All right, the burn was so slow, but it was so good. I loved how thick this book was. All of the content we were getting between the two of them, but also learning more about their lives and their past and why they are the way that they are. It was so good. And again, it was my favorite book for a very long time. Obviously, a book did take its place and we are going to be getting to that book last because that book did things to me. Anyways, love love. Moving on, we have Addicted to You by Krista and Becca Ritchie. I actually read this, I want to say last month. I was really nervous going into reading this because this book and this series is so highly rated, it's so beloved, and so I was really concerned that my expectations for this book was going to make it not as good as I was hoping, because we know that can happen. Sometimes we have really high expectations for something and then it doesn't meet those expectations and it lets us down, which honestly makes it worse than if you went into it and just didn't like it. It just makes it 10 times worse. So I was really nervous that I wasn't gonna love it, but wow, this is an absolute 5-star read, okay? So good. I've never read anything like this before in my entire life. The plot line of this book, the character development, the found family, the romance, so much goes into this book, and it is done in such a beautiful way. It is incredible. It is actually incredible. The hype behind this book is so warranted and so valid because I felt it. I have heard so many people say that they fully, wholeheartedly believe that Lily and Lo are soulmates, and reading this book, I felt it deep down to the depths of my core, okay? Okay, this book, if you don't know, follows two people who are best friends and they're fake dating, and they both have these addictions, which is why they're fake dating. He is addicted to alcohol and she is addicted to sex. So they're basically fake dating to keep their addictions from everyone else who knows them so that nobody else knows that they have these addictions. But as you continue through the story, they kind of start to realize like maybe they do have actual feelings for each other and maybe they want to have a real relationship. Things kind of happen and they start to realize that like maybe that they are the problem, you know, like maybe each other's addictions and they're fueling each other's addictions, and maybe that's the problem. And it is such an emotional book. It is genuinely such an emotional book. It is an emotional ride. Again, I felt that they were soulmates. I felt the spark between the two of them, the love between the two of them. I did end up reading Ricochet, which is the second in the series, and I also really loved that book, and seeing the progression and just kind of the continuation of the story. Those are the only two I've so far read in the series, and I wholeheartedly plan on continuing it because it's so good. I love all the characters in this series. Everything about it. It feels so good. It's so good. That's that one. Moving on. This is not the last book. It looks like it, but the last two I don't have physical copies of. Moving on to our 8th book, we have Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. I read this back in January and I genuinely loved this book so much. I really want to reread it so that I can continue the series with this being fresh in my mind, so I think I'm definitely gonna reread this soon. I loved this book. If you don't know what this is about, the absolute best way I can describe this to you is if you've seen Gossip Girl. Imagine Gossip Girl, but taking place in the UK with characters that have different names and also aren't in high school. That's this book. So we have like rich kids think they can do whatever they want, got drinking, drugs, parties. Toxic relationships is like the biggest plot line of this book, is the fact that they have a very toxic relationship. This book is so emotional. I feel like you read this and you kind of just like fall into the world and you fall in love with the characters, and it's just such a good book. I feel like I don't really know how to talk about this book because it's just one of those books that like when you read it, you know. Like, do you know what I mean when I say that? But genuinely, I loved reading this book. We have Magnolia and BJ. They are the two main characters of this book, and we kind of follow them as they are not currently dating. They broke up because something bad happened. We don't know what that is, and you don't find out till the literal like last couple pages, but they can't stay away from each other. They still hang out, they still have sleepovers, but they don't have sex. So if that's not your thing and you don't want to read about that, then I would not go for this book, but I did genuinely love this book. It's a 5-star read for me. I love how they are always describing all the outfits. Like Magnolia is always describing her outfits, everybody else's outfits, and I thought that was so fun. It's just so good, and I genuinely would recommend it. I would say I recommend the whole series, but I haven't finished it. But I'm sure when I do finish it, I'm going to say I recommend the whole series. I love her writing style. I just love how this book was written, and just the plot line and everything about it was so good, and I really enjoyed it. So I would definitely recommend. And the last two books we're going to be talking about, again, I don't have physical copies of, but they're on Kindle Unlimited. The whole series is, and this is where I finally found my absolute favorite series. Okay, we know Sarah and Magnolia Parks universe like this. I've said this in a video before, but if you haven't heard me say this, here we go. Destiny and Akatar are like this. Me in this series are like this. Reading this series felt like home. It felt like meeting your best friends for the first time and being like, wow, these people are gonna be in my life forever. I can just feel it. I just know it. The town, the characters, every single character. There is not a single thing that I do not love about these books and about this series. I have not finished the series yet, and I'm hoping to within the next couple of months because the last one in the series actually comes out, I think, in December, and I'm excited, but I feel like I'm low-key putting off finishing the series because I don't want it to end. But if you have not heard me talk about this series before and you don't know what I'm referring to, I am referring to the Eden series by Devoney Perry. But the two books in particular that we're going to be talking about is Juniper Hill and Garnet Flats, which is book 2 and 3 in the series. Juniper Hill, we're going to start with that one because it is book 2, and that is actually, to date, my favorite book, my favorite romance. It is what ended up taking By a Thread's place. This book did some things to me while reading it, and I want to say that one big part of why I loved this book so much is the main female character is a single mom. Now, I am not a single mom. My son's father is my husband. He is in my life. He is in his life. We live together. He is an amazing husband and an amazing father, but the aspect of motherhood that we get from this book, I felt so unbelievably connected to Memphis while reading about it and reading about the struggles that she faces being a mother and a single mother, and there's things that our boy Knox does for her in regards to the struggles of motherhood and especially being a single parent. That was so unbelievably sweet. He should be the blueprint for any single mom looking to get into a relationship and wanting to find love. He should be the blueprint, okay? Because this man sets the standard, okay? He just goes above and beyond. He not only does he fall so in love with Memphis, even though he doesn't necessarily want to fall in love. Hope you guys don't mind that we have a little guest star with us right now. He's not gonna let me put him down. So we have a little guest star. We're gonna wrap this video up, you know, finish talking about these books. Anyways, he falls so unbelievably in love with her son Drake also, and just seeing not only Knox and Memphis fall in love, but seeing Knox fall in love with Drake was so special. Their connection, their love, so pure, so wholesome, so heartwarming. I read this book and genuinely can't describe to you how many emotions it made me feel. It made me blush, it made me laugh, it made me cry, it made me so unbelievably happy. There's not enough words to describe how much I love that book and how much I love Knox and Memphis and Drake and just how much I love the story. It was just so good. It's just so good. It's just so good. It is truly just so good. I cannot recommend this series enough, and I can't recommend Juniper Hill enough. I genuinely believe that everyone needs to read it. It is so good. I can't describe it to you, okay? And that brings us to the last book that I'm gonna be talking about, which is Garnet Flats, the third in the Eden series. This book also did things to me, oh my god. So this book follows Talia, who is also one of the Eden kids, and then we have Foster, who is the main male character, and basically this is like a second chance romance, okay? So they dated years ago. I want to say it was like 8 years ago, 7 years ago, and they break up for a reason that we don't know yet. And he ends up coming back into town, finding this girl and being like, I want you back. And she's like, no, like, leave. Like, you broke my heart. You shattered my heart. No. But of course, she still has a soft spot for him, and I just loved this story. He is a UFC fighter. Not only that, but he is the middleweight champion, baby. So he is like the top of the top in the UFC, and I loved that aspect of it because me and my husband love watching UFC fights. They're so fun to watch. So I loved that aspect of it, but also just the romance and the plot. Like, the whole book, I was hanging on. I was hanging on to everything that was happening in that book, and I just loved their love and just the progression. You left me! How are you gonna start crying? You left me! You got up and walked away from mommy. I did not get up and walk away from you. Yeah, I didn't. You left me. Sit down. I just loved their relationship. I feel like they genuinely were soulmates. The things he would do for her to try to get her back was just so sweet, and I just literally loved it. I loved the whole story so much. Like, everything about it was so good. I genuinely cannot recommend this series enough. I will never be able to express how much I love this series and how much it feels like home and how much these people feel like my best friends. I will just never be able to fully express the love I have for this series, and I would highly recommend literally everyone to read it. So with that being said, that is all the books. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe if you're not already, because we have a lot of fun over here and we want you to join the fun. I just hit 10K yesterday, and I just want to say thank you to every single one of you for helping me get to that point. You do not understand how happy 6th grade little 12-year-old Tiffany is, and just how so unbelievably thankful and blessed I feel to have literally 10,000 of you guys who subscribed and enjoy my videos. So thank you so much. I'm gonna be doing a giveaway soon because I hit 10K, so stay tuned for that. I still need to figure out the details of that, but that will be coming soon. Also, like this video if you haven't already, because it really helps me and my channel out. And with that being said, I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.
Okay, son, you're being so crazy.
This is me coming to tell you that I love the Midnights album so much more than I thought I did, thanks to the movie. Yeah. Okay, I don't know why I just told you that. Hey guys, it's Tiff, and welcome back to my channel. Ew, that felt really ratchet. Oh my goodness. Okay. I literally don't even know what I'm saying right now. I get into a mode when I'm filming, when I'm in a good mood. I just get into this mode, and it's like I black out and I'm just talking. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Because I've read Bad Reputation by her. No, Bad Reputation. I'm thinking of Taylor Swift. And moving on. Oh my god, I can't pick it up. It in its tire. Whoa. Wow. Wow. The way that I actually was just talking in quite literal circles about that book. Wow. Again, I black out when I'm filming a video like this. Ricochet, which, whoa, why'd I say it like that? He falls so in love. I will be right back. My son is crying. We have Foster. Oh my god, I wanted to say Forrest. I will never be able to express the amount of words. What?